Solid win all around for the UConn Huskies in a 14-point victory over Georgetown. You're live on Locked On.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On UConn your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Before we dive into today's show, I want to say a big thank you to all of you, especially those in the chat and those who are live. We're proud to say we're the only daily podcast covering the UConn men's and women's basketball programs, the hoops capital of the world, and we're thrilled to bring you the coverage you deserve. To show our gratitude, we're giving back and donating 10% of our revenue to Husky Ticket Project, helping send kids to UConn games. Yes, all types of UConn games, basketball, baseball, football, hockey, I'm sure softball. So special shout out to all my everydayers out there. If some of you are live, awesome. Glad to have you. We're live. UConn took care of business in Hartford, rolling past Georgetown 93-79 in a game where the Huskies' offensive firepower was on full display. It was a balanced effort. Solo Ball leading the charge with 20 points, with Liam McNeeley chipped in with 17. Tarris Reed dominated inside with a double-double with 20 and 10. Off the bench, Huskies shot a blistering 56% from the floor, knocked down 90% of their free throws, and really kind of showed some efficiency. Listen, it wasn't a perfect game. It was solid. Georgetown was without their best player in Thomas Sorber out for the year with an injury. But Micah Peavy tried to keep the Hoyas in it. They came out on fire, 25 points on 10 of 16 shooting. Wasn't enough for UConn to beat UConn, especially not in the mall, as our guy from Fox Sports was calling it, and Donnie Marshall gave him crap for it in the Civic Center. UConn improves to 19-9 in the season, 11-6 in the Big East, keeping them firmly in the NCAA tournament conversation. UConn plays Providence this Saturday at noon at the Dunk, or if you like it to call it the Amica Mutual Pavilion. I like the Dunk better. Let's bring in Dan Meehan. He'll be with us, obviously, live tonight, and anybody else that wants to jump on, you're more than welcome to. Let's get a better picture than that, shall we? All right. All right, Dan. One of the people on Twitter said you should open your show with Tarris Reed the effing ball. But I didn't do that, but I did put Tarris Reed dominates as the headline of the show because he did. Obviously, no Thomas Sorber. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, UConn gets a 14-point win to go to 19-9. Spread was 14.5. So for anyone that took UConn in this one, I apologize. UConn scores 80 points for the first time in a non-overtime game since January 5th against, I forget who they played in that one, but second 90-point performance by UConn in a Big East game this year, their first 90-point performance in Big East play in a non-overtime game. So they had a clicking in the second half. This was, for the first time in a while, a stress-free second half. The game doesn't start all that well, but they kind of settled in. Not having Thomas Sorber, Georgetown's best player, was clearly the difference in this one. Tarris Reed went to work. We saw more of him in the first half than in the second, but similar to whoever chirped you on Twitter, I would have liked to see him more in the second half, just to kind of finish what he started in this game. But yeah, him and Solo Ball with a story in the first half, and then it was just kind of a collective team effort for UConn in the second half. I thought they played well, ran their offensive sets. I thought they played pretty well defensively in the second half. Settled in. They get the win. 19-9. A win is a win. I'll take it.
I don't disagree. I'm going to put the link in the chat here if anyone wants to jump in. I know Bernie's probably chomping at the bit to get in here and give his boys some love. If you didn't know this, we're not telling. Maybe we're giving away trade secrets, but that's okay. If you want to download Apple Sports, it gives you, if you're an analytics guy like Dan is and I'm learning to be, it gives you the plus minus that we get at the games when you're covering the game. And it's accurate. Like I checked it last time I was there. So I want to run through that really quick. You had, everyone was plus, obviously, because you went by 14 points. But some of the interesting ones were Tarris Reed plus 14. Jalen Stewart plus 10. I thought he played a really solid game in just 15 minutes. For all the talk about Jay Ross getting some minutes. He only played 2 minutes in the game, looked kind of lost out there, but he was +3. I think that's just a part because they were playing well in this game. And then my guy Amon Noel, there's some controversy. I know his stepdad has been chirping online, and I don't really care about that. What I care about is how does he play, and he looked good today. He didn't shoot the ball well, but in 6 minutes he was +6 and had 2 assists. Had a nice kind of dump off to Tarris for a layup. So it was just I think it was an all around great game. Alex was pretty good. He had 13 points, made a 3. Looked good on all of his 3-pointers. I think he only missed one badly. Solo was his usual self. Liam, same thing. The story of the night is Tarris on offense and really kind of dominating when they needed him, because that's just this is just when they play a team like this is going to remind me of whoever they get in the first round. If they're an 8 or a 9 or a 7 or whatever, there's going to be likely a disadvantage for the other team against Tarris. And in order for this team to finish the season strong, let's not get ahead of ourselves. But I'm looking ahead to that moment because what you saw was I saw a really mature Tarris Reed. Like when he was doubled, he kicked it out to Liam. You saw Ed Cooley literally jump on the court on Liam McNeeley's 3 when they doubled Tarris. Because when that starts to happen, when that guy starts to dominate, it's a natural instinct. So even if the scouting report is don't double because Liam McNeeley can hit threes, your basketball innate brain takes over and you go down and try to hack at the ball, or at least get him to kind of, and then you're like, oh shit, I forgot. Like I can't leave him open, and then it's 3 points. So
I like what they I like that Tarris had the wherewithal in the huddle. He almost knew what Dan was going to say to him. That can't be a hook shot. That you got to use your size, drop step, get a layup, and then you saw Tarris go get back to the court, and he did it. So that's a player taking the coaching.
You know what that tells me?
Learning
that kid has been scolded by his parents, and he knows when he's in trouble. So he knows to be like, hey, I know what I did wrong. And so the punishment is usually less when you're like, what did I do? You know, like if you're an a-hole about it, your parents will punish you harder. But if you're like, I know I messed up, they're like, all right.
That kid is going to be scary next year, man. Scary.
I love it. Let's get Bernie in here. And then this is the order. Bernie, Peter, Joe, Steve. Bernie, don't be on the phone for like 10 hours. All right. We got some people waiting. We love you. Come on. What's up?
Me being on the phone for 10 hours?
Dude, did you change your batteries?
For 10 hours.
How many
I heard a chirp.
I heard a chirp. As soon as you came in, we heard the chirp of your
That's when I get a message. Detector. I got a message. That's why. My phone is good. Don't worry about it. You know what? Tonight, I had a feeling we were going to win. I wasn't really stressed out about it. I kind of had a feeling they were going to be good. I knew they were going to beat Georgetown because when I heard about Sober being out for the year with a foot injury and the surgery and stuff like that, Georgetown can't match them inside the paint. And Georgetown has a good outside perimeter with Peavy. Peavy is really good. Mm-hmm. Peavy is really, really good. I don't know what happened with Epps this year. Epps has sort of like disappeared, but Peavy has been good all year. Fielder fouling out, only playing 11 minutes and fouled out. That blew my mind. But I never really felt that UConn was going to lose the game. It was like a comfortable win. The thing that kind of got me a little bit weird was the start of the game, where I'm like, they were down 14-4 in the beginning minutes of the game. I'm like, oh come on, please let's not this happen again. But they came back, and once they took the lead at 30-29, that was it. UConn just kept on going after that. And they only had 12 turnovers tonight, and they relatively were not in very much foul trouble, and they shot over 55% from the field. They played really well. Yeah, they really played well tonight. So there was no angina. There was no need to grab the alcohol. There was no need to go to the hospital and check my blood pressure. It was a calm, confident win for the team. I mean, scoring 93, they scored 51 points in the second half.
Yep.
That's what they need to do. Go ahead.
No, I agree. I don't disagree with anything you said. The one thing I will tell you is, there's your tweet again. We need to get that fixed.
Stop it. Yeah. It's a notification.
honestly, because all I'm going to get is messages from our buddy Matt, who's a firefighter. So that I'm telling you, man, like that's you just
no, it's not. Believe me, it's not the smoke detector. It's a notification on my phone. It is. Now that was the smoke detector, but the other time that was not.
Right.
Believe me, the smoke detector in my room went off the other day, but it hasn't gone off since, and the battery is fine. So I don't know. But anyway,
no, listen. So I agree with you. I think what this game just kind of gave us was a little bit of kind of relief. Right now with this team, I don't think there's really any like get right games because they've had many of opportunities to get right. Seton Hall, others that are down the line. It's just one of those things where this team just hasn't been consistent. So to expect like a easy win tonight, which it was, I was kind of surprised by it, not because they're not as good as Georgetown, but just because of the way they've been playing. Like it's kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde type thing. So
something I realized that Dan Hurley mentioned in his media availability yesterday was that he almost wanted to apologize to Jaden Ross for not getting him more playing time recently. Jaden Ross only played 2 minutes in this game. Aiden Mahaney for the first time logs 0 minutes all season.
Right.
That is telling of where this team is headed, where they want to be going into the Big East and the national tournament, and it worked.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I think I asked our guy Ian O'Connor about do you think like you've been around the team a little longer, do you think they're going to skip over Aiden? And he said I think that's definitely a possibility, and then that came to be true in the last 2 games, and now it's kind of clear to me that that Aiden is not in the plans going forward. That's just a speculation. I think that's an easy.
He's a reserve role now at this point.
I think it's an easy deduction. Deductive reasoning would tell us that if they plan to keep him on this team, or there was no plans for Aiden to transfer, then he would essentially be playing 4 or 5 minutes here and there, 10 minutes, because there's still a promise of, hey man, like just keep fighting through it. I did say this in the chat, and then Bernie, I'll let you say one more thing, and then we're going to move on to someone else. The one thing I will say in the chat that I think is 100% true. Aiden is a really good kid. He's not going to sit down and mope. He's going to work hard. He's going to stay ready, because if something happens, God forbid, like Haas hurts himself or Ahmad Noel gets hurt again, whatever, like the guys who are that have kind of ascended above him, you got to stay ready, because the team is not deep to begin with, because there's no one else. Like there is no other option. So I think he will. And if the end of the season comes either with a miraculous run or a loss in the NCAA tournament, I think Aiden will enter the transfer portal and probably go someplace out west. That's my
he'll probably go back to St. Mary's, because he felt most comfortable at St. Mary's than at UConn.
That might be a first time a player would ever go back to the school they transfer from.
That'd be funny, yeah. That'd be interesting.
Well, he felt comfortable. That's an offense he can feel comfortable in, because he knows, because of the head coach and the offensive schemes and stuff like that, that would be the best fit for him if he can't handle the kind of offensive stuff that we do here at UConn. So I would think St. Mary's would probably be the more logical choice, or even Gonzaga might be a better choice too, but who knows about that. But Saturday, noon, at the Dunk, or at Amica, the Pavilion, or whatever it's called, whatever it is, Providence. We beat Providence 87-84. That's the last time UConn scored over 80 points in the Big East. And that game, after what Providence showed against Marquette, where they got absolutely destroyed, UConn better come out game busters, because I'll tell you this, if they let Providence shoot those threes and make those shots and just go scoring whatever, then we're going to have another long Saturday. And I don't want to go through having another long Saturday where it's a close game against Providence. We got to put Providence in its place. We got to step on their throat and get that 12th win and be 12-6 and be just that little closer to be that 3 seed in the Big East tournament. Because guess what, guys? It's going to be March. Right. I love this time of year. Time of year. And once again,
Bernie, what are you doing 2 Saturdays from now?
Yep.
What are you doing 2 Saturdays from now? You busy?
2 Saturdays from now, I'm going to be watching the selection show.
No,
I'm going to be watching it. I always watch the selection show.
Watching that on Sunday.
Yep, I'm going to watch the selection show. And then on Thursday, when the first round of the first 4 on Tuesday, the first one on Wednesday.
Bernie, Bernie.
What?
Bernie.
What?
All right. You're getting your
What?
dates wrong. All right. Listen to me. Listen to me for
What?
a second. Just listen. It's February 26th. There's a game.
Yeah, but Saturday's March 1st.
No, 2 Saturdays from now is March 8th, which is the UConn game in Gamble, Seton Hall, senior night. Guess who's going?
Oh, okay. Well, still, it's
Guess who's going?
championship week.
Bernie.
But championship week starts March 1st.
Bernie. Guess who we want to take? Guess who we want to? Guess who we want to go to the game?
No, you're kidding me.
Yeah,
come on.
I got a free ticket for you, pal. I can't make it.
Oh my God, you gotta be kidding me! Come on.
Yeah, you're gonna take Dan's. You're gonna take Dan's ticket because he can't go.
I can't drive. Who's gonna drive me there?
You can't drive?
No, I haven't
find
tried.
you a ride. We'll find you a ride.
Listen, if we'll put it out there. If someone can get you to the game, we'll get you a ticket. Okay.
Oh my God, you guys are too much. You guys are too much. I mean, wow, you blew my mind. Thank you so much. And
hi, brother.
I love you guys. And
Peter, I don't know if you can top any of that, but come on in.
No. Hey, thanks for having me on. I talk to you guys on X all the time. Just a couple comments and a question. Comments, I agree with what you both said about Jaden and Mahaney. That was a big – you could see it tonight. And, look, our defense is what it is. I think we have to outscore people. And I'd rather see more Jalen Stewart than Jaden Ross. Nothing against Jaden Ross, but you know what? He doesn't shoot. Even when he has open shots, he doesn't shoot. So what good is he playing right now? The defense, we are what we are. Tarris Reed, guys, I got to tell you, his footwork blows me away.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like Sonogo and Amica when he was about his junior year. I'm not comparing him to them. I'm just saying his footwork. But the guy has incredible talent. I'd like to see more and more of him. I know starting, probably not going to happen, but I think I like seeing him start the rest of the season. Just my opinion. I think he may be one of them guys that needs to get going right away. All I know is when he's good, we are good. And
it's true.
I'd like to see him more in the first half of games. UConn has made a bad habit of starting games poorly this season. If this is a better opponent and Thomas Sorber's playing in that game, I don't know if we lose, but they're not going to close that 14-4 gap as easily if that team's better. Tarris, I just think he just sets the tone physically for you to start a game. I know that they want to start these games with old reliable Samson Johnson. They have a certain way that they like to start these basketball games, like play-wise. But Tarris is he's the better player. That's clear now. He brings something different to the court, both offensively and defensively. He's a load. Like the dude's 265 pounds. His footwork, he's much better rebounder and offensive player than Samson Johnson is. They have a good yin yang thing going on. They both bring something different to the court. So it's like personnel wise, they can make a switch if and when they need to. But their offensive production in the paint slowed down immensely once he came out of that game in the second half. I'm fine playing that dude 30 minutes a game and bringing Samson off the bench, where he's probably more comfortable doing so anyways, because that's what he's done the last few years.
And Dan, the other thing I noticed is with Samson, he's always out more towards the wing where Tarris is down low. And when he gets the ball, he can kick it out to one of the guys and they get a shot. Where Samson's not doing that. He's always out at the key almost, getting the ball.
Yeah, I saw Samson on the arc tonight committing fouls on three-pointers. What are you doing? Get back down into the paint. Stop committing fouls 30 feet from the basket. Killing me.
I was going back with Mark on X. Can any team just not make threes against us? The guy's 0 for 15, throws.
This is something that's become a talking point for a good reason. It's not just random that all these teams shoot the lights out against UConn. UConn is undersized.
Yep.
How many buzzer beater threes have you seen from 6'2" guards get shot over our 6'0" point guards this year? It's a personnel issue. We are small. Hassan Diarra got blocked twice at the rim tonight. He's small. I don't think I ever saw – I watched Tristan Newton making shots over Zach Edey in the national championship game last year. I don't think I saw that guy get his shot blocked in 2 years. Like the personnel on this team and around the perimeter is just tinier than it has been the last few years. That is why these point guards from these teams that are their third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh leading scorers on these teams are shooting 45, 50% from three over our guards. They're just smaller.
Yeah, but I agree with that. But I would also point out that when we're talking about teams that shoot like St. John's, Xavier, not everyone has St. John's profile. That everyone is 6'7", 6'8", and can shoot over us. Xavier has short guards. They have McKnight. They have that kid that was like the seventh guy on their bench, had 22 points against us. Like these guys aren't like 6'6", NBA ready guys. Peavy is, Marlon.
That's
Mack,
my point.
No, but like my point is like they're not all Peavy. They're not all 6'8". They're not all RJ Lewis's size. So like at some point,
that's my point. If 6'3" point guards are getting shots over our guys, that means we're even smaller.
I think that's kind of like two things can be true. I think it's two things. One, I was talking to Henry Little Red. He was gonna come on today, but he's got like a sinus infection or something like that. So we're gonna give him a pass because he's rarely not at games. So I wanted to get him on, but I did say, listen, I think it's partly because we play bad defense, partly because we're small, but also partly because teams aren't really afraid of us. Like they don't like. There's no like. They already know our defense sucks, so like they come in comfortable. Like so, it's like, that's just like that's the best thing you can feel as a basketball player, any athlete, right? I feel comfortable. I don't like. I'm sure we're all baseball fans. I know Dan is. I don't know about you, Peter, but like as years as years have gone on, what hasn't happened with guys at the plate? No one gets hit in the head anymore. So guys are all over the plate. So you feel comfortable. As a Yankee fan, it used to piss me off. No one hitting David Ortiz when he would hit 700 home runs in Yankee Stadium. So if he feels comfortable against 105-mile-an-hour fastball, he's going to hit it anyway. Rafael Devers does it to Chapman all the time. Now he's not with us anymore. But like that's the same mentality. If I feel comfortable against an opponent, I'm going to shoot better. 1,000%.
That Georgetown team, just so you know, shot 41% from three tonight. That is the 330th ranked 3-point shooting team in the country.
Yep. The guy who was 0 for 15 hadn't made a 3 all year. Now, granted, he was wide open, but it was like perfect. That like no rim, all net. Felder, who is a 29% shooter, made 2 in a row before he fouled out. Like some of that is what Dan is saying, but some of it is just like, I mean, how about the defense that Jay Ross played on Peavy, where he like did like a pump fake and hit like an 18-footer is like, I mean, come on, guys. Like at some point, it's a little bit of everything we're talking about. And some of it's just like, you got to throw your hands up in the air and be like, Jesus. I mean,
Dan Hurley mentioned it in his media availability yesterday. Like in the offseason, they need to get stronger everywhere. Sure. They need to get bigger, that whether that's through, weight training or transfer portal acquisitions or the 4 new guys coming in. Next year's roster is going to be a lot bigger. It's going to look a little different.
Without a doubt.
Hey guys, one quick comment and question. Comment is, can solo ball please, when they're pressing us, stop trying to go between 2 guys, please? It just makes me pull whatever hair out I got left. And the question to leave you guys with is, I know Ahmad Noel is not going to be a difference maker on this team, but we're up big, and I don't understand why Dan's not playing him in resting Diarra. Because if Diarra goes down, I know his injury isn't going to get much better, but Ahmad Noel is the best ball handler on our team. And at some point in the press, we may need him. And I just you guys have any insight on that?
I do. I think a couple things. One, earlier in the year, I think if you saw like Dan would like take the air out of the ball with Haas in the game. And, we're up 15 and like against Georgetown, we're up like 20 and we only win that game by 8. That doesn't look great in analytics, and I think he's regretting some of that now. So, like, when they're up by double digits, that helps you. I know it's not a big win against Georgetown where they're like 60 or 70 in the net, but to beat a team like that by 14, 15 points is a better look than if you bring in Ahmad and then they squeak it out by only winning by 7 or 8. Like, I think some of that is just him protecting the larger lead. And they ran their offense. He had them slow down, but they didn't really kind of like slow down their offense. They just ran more clock, and I think that's part of it. It's just a trust issue. I think you're seeing more trust in Ahmad's ability when he puts him in the game and doesn't yank him when he makes a turnover right away, because he knows this is it. Like I'm not going back to Aiden. I'm not giving Jay Ross another opportunity to run kind of.
Ahmad sees the court better. He had that nice pass to Caravan down low. Yep. I just think he takes pressure off the wings because he wants the ball in his hands, where Aiden didn't want the ball in his hands. So, hey, thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Peter.
Thank you.
Thanks, brother. All right, let's go Steve and then Silky. What's up, Steve? What you got?
Great one tonight. I think this was the best game in probably 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Might not be wrong.
What was that, bud? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and they haven't played this good since the game before McNeeley got hurt, I believe.
Yeah, it's been a while. They haven't had a comfortable win like this. The whole second half, they pretty much had a 10 point lead. They extended it to 14 to close out the game. But the whole second half, for the first time in a while, was pretty stress-free.
Without a doubt.
And I appreciated that.
Okay, if they go on a good one, what do you think their ceiling is? Like Sweet 16? Elite 8?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think I just want to – I don't even want to – we talked about that like ad nauseum already, and I'll answer it. But I really do want to focus on like, just winning these next games. Like I don't even know if winning out is a possibility, but just taking it game by game, beat Providence, beat Marquette because I'm going to be in the building, then beat Seton Hall. Then we'll see what happens in the Big East tournament. See what kind of seeding you get, because I think it all depends on where they end up. If they're an 8 seed, I don't think Sweet 16 is the goal, because if you're going to play a 1 seed that's been dominating all year, I think they can definitely put a scare into some guys. I just don't know if they're strong enough to beat a 1 seed, unless they get the 4th or 3rd 1 seed like an Alabama or a Florida, who even that's a tough one. But let's just see what they get. Like if they can sneak up to that 7 ring, and they're playing a 2 seed in potentially in the Sweet 16, then I think all bets are off. Like I think the ceiling would be Final Four. I think the floor for them would be second round Sweet 16. That's my thought.
I was looking at one that had them was 7th in the South.
What was that? I didn't quite get that, bud.
Hello?
I didn't quite understand you.
Hello?
All right, Steve, I got to drop you off. I don't know.
I think he said he one bracket he looked at, they had UConn as a 7 in the South.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate you, brother. I think you're right, but also that was pre-losing to Seton Hall.
I think right now, I don't think anyone has them as a 7 right now. I think they can play their way into a 7 if they win out, maybe win a game or 2, and some other teams lose. They can absolutely still play themselves into being a 7 seed. Especially if you go out and win Big East tournament and beat a St. John's caliber squad. That's still in play, especially if the offense is clicking like it was tonight. Their defense moved to 110, took a step back after tonight's game. I think
where were they before?
I think they were 99 coming into the day, so they dropped 10 slots. That's a lot after one game.
Tonight?
But there's 50 games that have to conclude tonight, so that'll change again. But they took either way. You allow 40% from 3 to the 330th ranked 3-point shooting team in the country. It's gonna take a step back, but the offense was clicking tonight. Like their offense has not looked good in the last month. So I'm glad that they got back to kind of what they do best. If they're going to win games in March and hopefully early April, that offense is going to have to do what it did tonight, and they look good.
All right, real quick, I'm going to take a break, and then we're bringing Silky to potentially close out the show. Unless people want, it's early. We only got 30 minutes in, so I'm happy to stay on for a few more minutes after that. We'll see what people are up to coming up after the break. All right, FanDuel, let's do this. When the game tips off, the NBA action is getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I typically will do live bets whether I'm, looking for an exciting finish or if I'm backing UConn. I know this is an NBA promo, but live betting is fun. Be careful though, because they'll get you. You think you get it won, but always proceed with caution. So It's easy to use, and you get paid instantly when you do win the game. So right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, we're back. Let's get FanDuel off of here. Actually, let's keep him on. Remind the folks of where they can bet with America's #1 sportsbook. All right, so we got Providence coming up. That's a team that's like it should be a win. It's on the road, but Seton Hall should have been.
It's the last thing that Providence has to play for this season, so that atmosphere is going to be raucous. That game is. It's the last thing that team has to play for. It's at noon on a Saturday to start the month of March. It's going to be weird. Noon games are always weird. UConn hasn't played well in those this year.
It's true.
It's
the only good news is it's a noon game. I know Providence fans, PCBC fans are a bunch of degenerates, but I don't necessarily know if they're going to be handbagged at noon. You might have a few brave soldiers that are going to be pretty saucy. And listen,
the last time I checked, those tickets were like $150 a pop. Like,
really?
They are in demand. So if Providence, if the Friars and the Providence faithful still have one thing to play for, it's this game. It's a little trappy. I don't know. I think UConn might be favored by like 10 in this one. We'll see.
Yeah, that's too much. Like
Saturday at noon. We'll see.
As far as I'm concerned, the Georgetown game, I understand why it was a 14.5-point game because of no Thomas Sorber, but just with it being Providence and being noon and it being just kind of like a weird time, like you said, and maybe this is the last thing they actually have to play for. I mean, I'm sure my buddy Chris Smith at Bad Choice Milk is going to be betting Providence plus 10. I can tell you that right now. So yeah, it's just I just never bet on UConn because when I do, they lose. So I typically stay away. I know I've learned my lesson. All right, Silky, get in here and close us out.
What's up, guys? What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good. You?
I tired of the awful starts of the games. It's like every game we go down by like 10 points.
One
and have
negative
to take a timeout.
Yep.
Everything else, though, obviously, you guys talked about a lot about like the insane, the pump fake where Jay Ross is gonna block it, and then goes off and all this stuff. So it's wild. But otherwise, the offense looked really good today. I liked all the offense. Turnovers again were a little bit on and off. Sometimes they turn the ball over like 3 or 4 times within like a 4-minute span, and then sometimes it'd be like we go on a 10-0 run. So I'd like to see a little bit more consistency on offense and definitely on defense because they didn't have their best player and they still scored 79 points. Yeah, it's a lot for not having their best player.
On some rough shooting splits for UConn. I think speaking of the turnovers, Hassan started a little sloppy in the first 10 minutes of the first half, but cleaned it up. UConn only ends up with 10 turnovers total, 12 fouls committed, super clean. So across the board, I'm pretty pleased with the way they played tonight, considering how the last month has looked for them.
Start Tarris Reed. Please.
Yeah.
Please.
Might have. Yeah. That's
I think Dan is I think he's shown a willingness to eventually kind of change. And you know what also it tells me is that we definitely have a crazy fan base, but we have a really knowledgeable fan base because there's been people talking about Tarris Reed starting all year. And so
I'm one of them.
And Silky's one of them. I haven't gone so far as to say he should start, but I definitely have said I can see why you guys want him to. I think for me, what I try to do is kind of temper the expectations. Like when people are like, oh, we should, this person should be playing. I'm like, well, I mean, that's not what Dan is saying he's going to do. So like, so I don't want to say like, I agree. Like, let's do it. But knowing all well, that's not going to happen. But I actually do think now that he's starting him in the second half and he's seeing this kind of progression. And I'll make a parallel to the women's game. Janelle Elfie wasn't starting for them. The 6'5" redshirt freshman. All of a sudden, Ice Brady starts playing like crap, and now she's hurt. But Jana took over about 4 games ago as a starter, even prior to Ice being out with an injury. So I don't want Samson to get hurt. We are thin as it is. But I think to Dan's point, and I'm sure Suki, you agree with this, it's he's better off the bench anyway to be that kind of change of pace. Then you don't have to worry about him coming in, getting 2 or 3 quick fouls at the beginning of the game, and then starting slow.
I would just like to see him get more minutes.
Keep in mind too, like this coaching staff might want to keep one of the last few ace cards in their back pocket. Like going to say it Tarris this late in the season could be a move. Like if this team knows that they need to win a game to maybe go get a 7 seed, if they have to win a game against Marquette or St. John's in the Big East tournament in a really big spot, like turning to Tarris Reed and maybe starting him it brings a surprise to that opposing team. To if they weren't expecting it, they can still pull a few more moves out of their hat, and that might be one of them. So I just think that this coaching staff and Hurley have a way of navigating the season that's a little bit more ahead of where some of these other coaches are.
Yeah,
just the way that they break the season.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
no, that's a good point. That's a good point. They definitely could do that.
Yeah. Dan does make good points, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, Dan
Meehan.
Oh, by the way, those tickets are not $140 for Providence. They're $60 now. So I'm an idiot.
I was like, what are you talking about? Listen, then he
were a couple
some,
weeks ago.
Some silly shit like that. And now he's back to not knowing anything about anything, right?
You got to humble yourself sometimes.
I love it. I do it all the time. Yeah, man, like I think it's like a prevailing theme. It's like there's a few malcontents in the chat I'm not paying attention to because everyone's this guy sucks, that guy sucks. But outside of that, man, I thought it was a really solid game all around.
Balanced. It was balanced scoring. Diarra 14, Solo Ball 20, Caravan 13, Lee McNeeley 17, Tarris Reed 20. So 5 guys in double figures. Steady across the board. They shoot over 50%. Something that we mentioned a couple weeks ago, and something that they have found their rotation now. It's taken almost 30 games, but you're starting to see Ahmad Noel comes off the bench tonight. Only plays 6 minutes, but Aiden he relegates Aiden to reserve minutes. Aiden doesn't see the court. Jay Ross 2 minutes. He's +3 in his 2 minutes, but even from this rotation started as a 9-man rotation in the beginning of the year. It's pretty much whittled down to the 7, and that's who it's going to be going forward, barring any injuries. Maybe Tarris gets a start going forward just because he's been crushing it offensively. But those are the 7. And Ahmad Noel is now the 8th guy off the bench. He's the first point guard off the bench. Jay Ross is now in that 9 slot. So going forward, we have a better idea of who the guys are going to be. You're going to see 30 minutes across the board for the most part from 4 of the guys in the starting 5. Tarris Reed and Samson Johnson will go back and forth with minutes, and Ahmad's going to be the first point guard off the bench.
Yeah, Silky, what do you think about this? I think for me, I feel now that the rotations are essentially, I wouldn't call it set, but essentially set, right? Or with what Dan just said. Now, if for some reason Haas gets 2 fouls, I feel so much better knowing that Ahmad is going to come in because he's not going to. I don't feel like he's going to turn the ball over as much or be as much of a liability as Aiden was. And on top of that, I think that there's a clear line of demarcation that Jay Ross will play, but only if they need a quick little spot minutes to kind of give someone a blow. So I think that it's basically an 8-man rotation with maybe Jay Ross, and then Aiden is an emergency.
Yeah, I think that Aiden, he's had his fair chances to show what he can do.
Yeah.
And
he's had more than enough chances.
And obviously Dan's seen enough of it, and he's done of it. He put him on the bench. He didn't play him any at all. And one thing I want to say about the centers, when they go up on the defense and they are up on near the 3-point line, they get killed every single time. The center goes out, and then the guy either cuts in and he doesn't switch, or the guy he switches and the guy just catches a 3. They need to switch that up.
My biggest issue with their defense with the 5s on these hedges versus drop coverage is the recovery is as good a footwork as we had Peter on, as good a footwork as Tarris has as an offensive player on these defensive hedges where they come out on the play on the roll on the pick and roll game. It's just not the same recovery time, and Samson gets lost out there.
And they don't got Donovan Klingon. They don't have a 7'2" guy that recovers fast enough to block shots.
Well, right. Klingon wouldn't have to ever go to the arc because their wings were all 6'7",
Right,
and their point guard was 6'5".
But even on like center.
But even on pick and roll, like they would just he would just have drop coverage, and then they would kind of try to funnel it to him. And then Sampson was more of the hedger. Like they did that. And that's what made that defense so special is they were able to do both and do it at an elite level. Like sometimes teams are really good at drop coverage and really bad at hedging. And UConn's defense last year was elite at both. And it said so much about how that team was so connected. And it says so much about why this team is kind of disconnected on defense.
And it's also a reason why we block so many shots. The top 5 in the nation. It's like you might get beat off a hedge or drop coverage, but Caravan's been great at that this season. He gets more blocks from behind than anybody I've seen in the Big East. He roomed with our boy Donovan Clingan last year. Learned a lot from him. So for all that, this team is not as bulletproof as the last few years, but they still recover well. They still do a lot well on the back half of maybe some of those blown coverages. So don't count them out yet, man. The team put up 90-plus points tonight. That Georgetown team has all things considered, had a really good season and on the come up. They're looking good going into next year.
Yep, I agree. So you got anything else for us? You're gonna jump off.
Just love Noel's minutes. Gives you more physicality at the point guard position, which they need at every position. Looking at our defense, so it was nice to see that a little bit of a change of pace for that 5-6 minutes that he played.
If nothing else, it's Ahmad's minutes are important for that reason. It's just like he's not gonna I don't think he's scaring anyone off the dribble yet with the ball in his hands. He dribbled out a full almost 25-second shot clock by himself tonight. That might have been the reason why Dan yanked him late in the second half. But he is not a total mismatch for the opposing offense when he steps on the court. As soon as Aiden Mahaney stepped on the court, that team has come into that game knowing that's a mismatch. Like that's a nightmare for us. He would get matchup hunted every single time he subbed into the game. And that's part of the reason why he's gotten quick yanks the last few times out. That doesn't happen to Ahmad Noel. He's a stern defender. He might his feet might still be a little slow. I used to come into the baseball season and my feet just wouldn't move to start the first quarter of the season. He's still coming off some injuries that he's recovering from. So some of that stuff will get cleaned up, but he's just not a matchup detriment for the other team, similar to Aiden.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. I appreciate you jumping on.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Anybody else want to come on? We'll give it a few minutes. Hey, this is true, but Reed is also. I mean, he also dominated Sorber in the first game, not at that level, but Tarris Reed is 6'10", 260 pounds. Look up again. Look up Thomas Sorber. What's his size? I know he's tall. I know he's athletic. I know he's going to be an NBA player. But
he's probably fringe lottery pick. He's a little bit more of a traditional big at the next level. But he's 6'10", 255. That's a big boy. And so kudos to Tarris Reed, who's even bigger.
Yeah, 6'10", 270. I mean, come on, man. Also, I'm going to address Cowboy on this because it's true. This is true, but also it's because of earlier in the year. I'm talking about more recently. Tarris does not pick up the same fouls that Sampson does. Sampson is literally a foul machine. Tarris has been a little bit better, and those numbers are going to continuously drop. I think for us, I want to see Tarris. I think I'm on that bandwagon now where he should start, because if you're telling me that he's the answer for attacking the rim early, maybe to get another team's big in foul trouble, also to kind of open up more ability for people if they want to double for us to get 3-pointers on kickouts. I know it doesn't matter who starts, but it kind of does if every time you play a game, you get down 10, 15 points to start the game. And one of the biggest reasons why you do is because you have Sampson kind of all over the place running around like a chicken with his head cut off. Whereas I think Tarris is more of a solidifier down low. That's my
kudos
that's my
again
take
to
on
the
that.
coaching staff. That 6.1 fouls per 40 number was in the mid-7s to start the season. At the end of the first quarter of this season, like 10 games in, that was a problem for this coaching staff to have to navigate. I don't know if they've looked in like analytically, like you started to see around game 10 as UConn dove into the Big East Conference slate. As soon as Tarris would pick up, or Sampson would pick up that second foul, he was getting a quick yank. Like they learned pretty quickly early in the season how to play that, and it's helped both of those guys stay out of foul trouble for the back half of the season. So that's something that this coaching staff, it's not really a number like fouls per 40 that people look at, But if you go back early in the season and look at those foul counts for both the centers on this team, they have come down a lot since early in the season. So again, kudos to the best coaching staff in America.
Absolutely. I don't know where this came from. All right. My man, Steve, I know you came on the show. Abraham's not playing. Guys, Isaiah Abraham, great prospect. He's not playing this year. Just, they'd have to have 4 injuries before he played. And Youssef is not playing, as you can see, because, dude, even Dan left in Samson or Tarris. I forget what game it was. It might not the St. John's game, but it was the game before. And people were like, we should put Singari in just to kind of give him some run. He didn't play. Like I don't know what you guys think is going to happen, like, or who you think is coaching this team. Like, because all of those suggestions, they may sound great in your brain, but there's a reason why they're not playing. And you know, it is what it is. I'm not making fun of you guys. Like, I get it. Like, I honestly thought when Aiden was hurt, when Ahmad was hurt, when Haas was gimpy, you may see a guy like Isaiah Abraham. You may see Singari for some spot minutes. But now that we're kind of healthy as you can be at this part of the season, it's just not going to happen. So I just wouldn't even worry about it. All right. You got anything else to say, Dan, before we jump out of here?
I could just run through a few post-game Hurley quotes if you want.
Please.
I've got one here from our boy Ryan Cassidy over at the Big East Bar Room. The reporter asked, "Do you think you're handling the press better?" And Coach Hurley said, "I think the press has been an asshole to me all year." Oh, you mean the defense? So that's one quote from Mr. Hurley. Let's see if our boy Sam Calhoun's got anything for us.
I love Sammy.
Sam's always got some good post-game presser quotes. Okay, so Solo Ball scratching the surface of what he's going to be. He's going to be one of the best guards in the country next year. I don't think any of us would disagree with that. I was just happy to see a 19-assist game. Solo Ball on Hassan Diarra. He makes the game so easy for us. Without Haas, it'd be a lot harder to be playing in these games. Hassan Diarra on his knee. It's definitely better. It has its days, but I'm definitely progressing each and every day. Good to hear. Hassan Diarra, you got to take it one game at a time. It's definitely in the back of my mind, the tournament. And Solo Ball and his 3-point shooting, it's not my best. I think it was okay. So, yeah, nothing too juicy tonight. You know, that's a good sign.
Yep. Yes, he is coming back. No question. Not even a thought in my mind.
Yep.
Yeah. And by the way, for these questions, save them all because there's a time and place for them.
Yes.
And
after the season,
whenever that is, we are going to be talking about everybody in the transfer portal, everybody that could transfer or stay for UConn. And I am excited about that because that was fun last year. Even coming off of a national championship, a back-to-back national championship, it was like,
how do we reload?
How do we reload? Like, there's, it's fun to kind of talk about. It's also fun to look into some like mid-major guys who could potentially translate because they're 6'6", 6'7" guys. There's some really good guys that I thought we could have got last year who are thriving in the SEC. So I hope that Dan and the boys will, take a look, maybe some stuff outside of the box, because it's not always going to be about just because Tarris Reed played at Michigan and Aiden played at St. Mary's.
One thing I'll leave it, if the people that are already thinking about transfer portal want something to kind of chew on, pending this team having an earlier exit than scheduled, and then we've seen the last few years, for whatever reason, the NCAA opens the transfer portal before the season ends.
It's true.
A part of the reason why we were maybe misdiagnosed a couple guys in the portal last year is because they were still playing basketball. And a lot of the talent had already been scooped up. A lot of the talent had already been scooped up. Like some of these guys that top the list of the transfer portal have already kind of been eyeing some of these teams that they're thinking about going to, maybe talking to the bag man at some of these schools. The transfer portal opens on March 24th. Like UConn was still playing basketball into the first week of May. And I remember some of the quotes coming from Kamani and Luke, like guys would ask them, like, are you guys in between traveling to the Final Four? Are you talking to any recruits? They're like, no, we're locked in trying to win a national championship. So the teams that are still playing, like the Auburns and the Dukes that might still be playing basketball at that time, they're going to be trying to win their next basketball game. And if we are, in fact, out of the tournament at that time, I promise you we will have more like progress made than some of those teams with regard to the transfer portal. So,
all right, since you brought it up, and I just because all I'm going to do is go over a little bit of this. All right, check this out. For everybody that, it's a great point by Dan, but just because you're a highly ranked transfer portal guy does not mean that you're going to work out, right? The number one transfer portal guy did Kadari Richmond, St. John's. How's Omar Ballo doing in Indiana? They're a bubble team. He's
AJ Storr, Kansas.
No, I'm going through the list. John L. Davis, Arkansas. They're on the bubble. AJ Storr, Norchad Ormir, great player, bad team. Tucker DeVries, West Virginia. They may make the tournament. Great Osabor went from Utah State to Washington. I don't even know if Washington's a tournament team. Whatever. Kobe Johnson from UCLA. Decent. They're going to make the tournament. Javon Small, West Virginia. That's a good one. Fantastic. Iowa State to West Virginia. That guy is playing out of his gourd. This is a great one. University of North Florida, Chaz Lanier went to Tennessee. That is the perfect pickup for when Dalton Connect left, and he's leading them in scoring, and potentially they're going to be a 1 seed. Jeremy Roach, Baylor, Davion Smith to St. John's. Great pickup. Clifford Amoriu from Alabama to Alabama. Great pickup. Mark Mitchell to Missouri. Great pickup. So, as we go down the line, I feel like the picks are better. Tyrese Hunter from Memphis. How bad did he kick our ass? I mean, just unbelievable.
No more COVID fifth-year guys either.
No more COVID fifth-year guys.
There's just going to be a little less in the portal going forward than there has been the last few years.
Let me ask, I haven't got down to the rest of this list. Wooga Poplar is in the top 15 here. Where was Aiden Mahaney? If anyone, I have shirts being made right now, and they're all to give away. I can't sell Locked on UConn stuff. So I will have some extras left over. If someone wants to come on the show right now and tell me where, because there's 3 different websites. If you give me close to the average of where Aiden is in all the 3 websites, I will give you a shirt. But you have to come on the show. If you say it in the chat, you're disqualified and everybody else is. So there it is. If you want to come in. But yeah, that's such a great point from Dan. Danny Wolf was a great pickup from Michigan, from Yale. They're having a great season. Their first or second.
I think that dude should be a lottery pick. He's listed at 7 feet. I've been telling I got a couple buddies from Michigan. I've been joking around with them. That dude is not 7 feet tall. I think he's 6'10", maybe 6'11", but he moves really well with the ball. I think Michigan's a dark horse team to go to the Final Four. Between him and Vlad Golden down low, they're just a massive team. Dusty May got that extension. That you want to talk about a program not on the rise, because that's Michigan. They've always been around. They'll always be around. But you want to talk about a school with heavy NIL dollars and a great leading man. Michigan's going to be dangerous for foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anyone want to come in? Average of the question is, where did Aiden Mahaney rank in transfer portal rankings last year? Average of the 3 ranking systems, which is 247 on 3, and there's one other one that I trust. So
how many guys were in the portal last year? Does it have the full list?
Bro, 2,000 something.
Whew.
It's going to double this year, from what I heard.
Interesting.
Stop
I'm not even going to guess. I don't want to guess.
Stop guessing in the chat, you nerds. And come on. Before we jump off this show. I know, listen, you don't want a t-shirt. Look at, just like my shirt says, get it on, play no shit. Don't try me. You feel me? What is this? The real question is, how are they getting their asses kicked? No Davion Smith and playing at the Finn will do it to you. Okay. Nathaniel, a Facebook Messenger friend of mine. I like it.
St. John's losing right now?
Are they?
I don't know. Texas A&M just lost to Vanderbilt. Again, another top 15 team that went down. There's a lot of there's been a lot of talk about parity in this year's kind of just landscape. I think there's it keeps getting just a little bit more top heavy with each year that goes by. I had my theory on this week's podcast about the SEC. All those schools are football schools. They have unlimited NIL dollars. I think that's why you're seeing that SEC have so much success this year in college basketball. Some of that football money is overflowing into the basketball programs, and some of those programs have just spent that money wisely. But you've got like top two teams in the country. No one was going to argue, Auburn and Duke, and then you've probably got 3 or 4 more teams in the second tier that are like Final Four, not favorites, but just some teams that you would not be surprised to get to the Final Four. But then I think that's where the parity starts. It's like 7-20, where any one of those teams I wouldn't be surprised went to the Final Four, and any one of those teams I wouldn't be surprised to see them lose in the second game of the tournament. So we'll see. Texas A&M, number 12, they lose to an 18-9 Vanderbilt team tonight. Michigan State wins at the buzzer in one of the worst box scores I've ever laid eyes on. St. John's, they're up 8 right now in Butler. But
hold on, we got someone. I think he's. I don't know if Manny's gonna answer the question, but we'll see. What's up, Manny?
What's up, man? It's 45, right?
Nope. It's a lot higher.
A lot
like
higher?
Not higher. It's a lot like he was rated higher. A lot higher.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I checked it online when you asked. I didn't know, but I'm trying to get that shirt. But thanks, Mark. I love what you do, man. I love the show.
I'm trying to get that hat. Where'd you get that?
I know.
I got this at Hartford. It's the 99.
I gotta get that.
Oh, that's
a nice piece.
Yeah, it's my favorite player right here.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I was at the jersey retirement last year.
That's dope.
When he hit the half court.
Can you get that shirt?
I wasn't there for that. But
can you get that hat online somewhere, or is that in the Civic Center?
You might be able to, but they had it at the Hartford has the small gift shop and Storage has the good one. But they had it at the small gift shop, and I saw the hat, and then when they had the 99 on the side, I was like, okay, yeah, I need it.
That's got to be in the bookstore, right?
If they have it in Hartford, they should have it at the bookstore. So
I mean,
Hartford's a weird place these days. You never know.
If you send me that shirt, I'll go to Hartford and try to get one for you.
Exchange. Make a little exchange.
Yeah,
all right,
that'll work.
All right, Manny, hit me up. We'll work on an exchange.
All right, but I really appreciate you guys, man. I love watching the show. Thanks a lot.
Nah, brother,
appreciate that. Thank you.
No one wants to come in. It said like Wes, I'm trying to get in, not working, bro. Like, it's a link. Just click it.
Let's hear it.
Spill the beans. 75 years old. All right, you got 5 seconds. Next person come in. Dan, 3, 2, 1. What is it? Just throw a number out there.
Over 2,000 guys in the portal. I'm gonna say he was 200.
No, he was top 20. He was 19th. God. 19th. So listen. If you're gonna sit there and like be pissy and moany about this kid, we're not the only ones who thought he was gonna be good. Do you know how many times I've heard Jay Billis and Seth Greenberg and guys who literally do this for a living? You know what I mean? Like I don't like. Oh, Jane, you never got your shirt? I got you, Jane. Jane, you'll get your shirt.
I wonder what if there's like a aggregate on some of these sites on 3, but obviously on 3 is the most popular portal transfer portal site and kind of ranking list. But like, what is that based off of?
It's like, based off of
how are they coming up with those numbers?
Anyways? Well, I mean, like if you just look at 247, he was 22nd in 247. Okay. And if you look at all the guys around him, it's all very kind of plausible. You know, one guy here, maybe there or not.
Based off of what though? Like true shooting metrics. Where you were as a high school player. It makes it's a crapshoot.
Yes, but so is recruiting. Like, sure. So I think when you talk about the rankings, they're basing it off of like where you played, the respectability of that program. If you're a mid-major, did you carry them? Did you lead the league in scoring? Like all of that stuff gets factored in. Are you just a really talented kid and you just, had a bad year, maybe had an injury, whatever? I think all of that factors in. Like there's a reason why a guy like Jeremy Roach, who's been to a Final Four and was a really good point guard at Duke, is a number 11 in a ranking because he was a 4 or 5 star recruit coming in. They rank him. They do stars, by the way, on transfer portals. So he's a 4 star. The only there was no like real 5 star recruit, I guess you could say, in these portals. But they rank it. It's like an aggregate score, like same as same as like when we have Braylon and those guys. Like they're like a 97 or an 8 is like a 5 star, and then it goes down from there. So I mean, if you just go back to Aiden, he was like 96, 4 star. And I think he was a 4 star high school player too. So it's like,
it's going to be interesting to see how Hurley and the boys kind of navigate the portal. Maybe they go back to the drawing board of trying to find a guy that's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder coming from a mid-major. They've had success with that with guys like Tristan Newton and Cam Spencer, who became all-time program greats, as opposed to going to a guy, they have their kind of method to the madness. Both in Tristan and Aiden, they went after those guys because they played against them. And they liked what they saw when those guys played them. So it's going to be a very interesting offseason.
Richard brings up a good point. He's not a beat reporter, but he does that Zags blog. It's not Adam Zagoria. It's
House of Kraus.
House of Kraus. Thank you so much. I was going to say because Connor Hope is a Zags guy too. But yeah, House of Kraus guy definitely kind of almost like laughed at us that we took Aiden. But look, that's one guy's opinion who does this for a living too. So sometimes you're right about that stuff. I mean, it is what it is, right?
Bruce Pearl's been very vocal this year, saying that he likes getting guys from mid majors. Like, he will not go after a guy at a high level Division I team, because if I've already seen you kind of fizzle out at another like big high level D1 school, why would I go after you and give you $1 million? I'm gonna go get the Janai Broom from a mid-level, mid-major school who's growing his game, has shown signs of improvement, and isn't gonna cost as much. So
I know this is kind of delved into like a whole other thing, but like having covered the SoCon, like I would love for Dan or Kamani or one of these guys to come down here and watch who are the better players in a league like this. And I'll give you a good example. It's a league that is, on any given year, it's like the 11th or 10th best league in the country. And it typically only is a 1-bid league, but there's usually 1 to 5 guys in the league that could play anywhere. And like one guy last year who played right here in Greensboro, now he's playing at Ole Miss and having a really good impact season for Chris Beard. Mikkel Brown-Jones, I think is Mikkel, whatever. He has 3 names, and 6'8", like kind of looks like Dwight Howard because his shoulders are like completely square like that. Can step out and shoot the 3, but can bang down low. Just like guys like that who are like men. The guys, he's like 22, 23 years old. That's another option where it wouldn't have cost a lot of money because it's a mid-major, and that's how you can kind of stretch those NIL dollars. So you find a guy that's hungry that wants to be on the big stage, doesn't mind getting physical. Doesn't mean you're always going to win, right? Because if they went up, maybe they offered that guy. I don't know. You don't know. Like you know what I mean? Like that's the thing, is like, just because you want a guy doesn't mean you get him. That's also part of it. All right. I think we've delved into transfer portal way too much for February 26th.
Save it. Save all your hot takes for the transfer portal for call it a month from now.
For sure.
March 26th, at least, when the portal opens.
All right, y'all. Have a great rest of your evening. I'm very happy that we had a stress-free evening. As always, it's staying locked in, stay connected. I'll see you guys in Connecticut a little less than a week from now. I leave. I sound like Bernie there. A little less than a week. I'm Ron Burgundy. I come up next Wednesday, so a week from now. All right, guys. Have a great night. Go Huskies.
Go Huskies.